Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of Dark Side of the Word. We weed out the good, the bad, the creepy, so you don't have to. Join us as we discuss our latest book club reads and content recommendations. All topics are dissected and debated from a creative's perspective. New episodes are posted every second and last Thursday of the month. Watch Dark Side of the Word on YouTube or listen to the audio-only version on iHeart, Apple, and Spotify. Hello, friends, and welcome back. Today is a very special day on the podcast because I'm going to try to rein it in and not be a fangirl today. But we have the most wonderful guest person on the podcast today, Amie McNee. She is the author of 2 fiction books, The Rules Upheld by No One, and Regrettably, I'm About to Cause Trouble. She has also just come out with her new nonfiction book, We Need Your Art, which always happens.
Look at her. Look, guys.
She is the self-proclaimed mother of all creatives, a podcaster, a TEDx speaker now. She also runs her own creative mentorship with her Inspired Collective, and all around just amazing person that we are so lucky to get to talk to about your creative journey and where you've been and how you got here. And thank you so much, Amie, for being here.
Kait, CJ, truly an honor. Love to be absolutely gassed up on a Friday afternoon. So let's get into it. I'm excited.
You need
for this
it too,
conversation.
as much as you talk us up. And
yes,
you are like,
we need to talk you up, definitely.
Thank you. I really did need it. I've just come off this big book tour, and I've got slower energy, and I feel very taken care of right now. So I'm excited.
Good. That's good. It's a good way to start a weekend.
It is.
I know. Let's ride this high a little bit longer. I didn't miss anything, right? We got World Book Tour. Anything else you want to plug real quick?
I mean, introducing myself is the bane of my life. And I think for most creatives, it's incredibly hard to do. You know, most of us are multi-hyphenate. Most of us find it difficult because we're going against so many social conditionings of who is it we are? Should I just tell you my normal job? Am I allowed to say author? It's claim to titles. Introducing yourself as a creative person is a huge challenge. So I'm very glad you did it for me, and I'm very happy with it.
It is very hard to introduce yourself as a creative. I have been practicing with it by having a little index card on my altar where I just go through every day and I remind myself oh, I'm an author, I'm a writer, I have a blog, I do this. So it's becoming more natural to me every day. Because without that reminder, I wouldn't be able to do it.
I love that, CJ. And I think that's actually something that we should all be doing. And maybe I need to be doing that. And understanding that it can evolve as well. This is not something that's set in stone. It's a beautiful, movable thing that will grow as you grow as a creative. But I think so many of us, and I still really struggle with this as someone who's been doing this work for such a long time, introducing yourself is hard. And so I like the idea that we anoint ourselves with these words, we practice with these words, and we settle into them. Because I think claiming these titles and knowing you have a really good spiel about yourself
exactly.
is actually it's a power move. And I think it's important for us as artists to really lay claim to it.
And if you can't get there too, if you can't get there yet, have a person that also will do it for you. Because we were actually chatting about book touring before you came on, Amie, because she just went to an author signing. And I was like, if you're too scared, I'll go on stage with you and I will hype you up for you.
I love that.
You don't need to do it alone.
I think that's, again, a really beautiful thing. You're right. We don't need to do this alone. And sometimes it's so much more useful to have someone describe you and see what they see through their own eyes. Because again, we're holding so many stories about, I haven't done XYZ, so therefore I can't lay claim to this. Or I had a TEDx talk, but it was in front of 10 people. We start qualifying everything,
Yeah.
And so having someone else and looking through someone else's lens is a beautiful way to just actually start recognizing what it is you have done. So I know a lot of people who ask people, and I've been the person asked for a good friend of mine, who am I? Who do you see me as? And really getting a grasp of how the people you trust and love in your community see you. It's a beautiful thing.
Exactly. Yes. Oh, we're already spitting facts and it's not even 2 minutes into the podcast. Now, before we get into the tougher questions for you, Amie, I want to start with a lighthearted one that I did not share with you because I wanted it to be a surprise. But I'm going to harken back to old Amie here. I mean, not that old, just a couple olds. couple years. But I want to ask everyone to name what was their little miracle today so far.
I just journaled on that.
I love
Classic Amie response. Absolutely vintage on brand. Let me grab my journal. I was just journaling before. Um,
I love that you have it within arm's reach
it's right there, baby.
I love that.
I mean, literally, I was journaling, then I hopped onto this call and I was listening to Little Miracles. This morning, me and James, my partner, went out for breakfast, and we haven't been out to our usual spot for months and months because we've been touring. And the waiter was so excited to see us. And I was just like, and like just so beautiful. I wasn't like I wouldn't have been surprised if he didn't recognize us. He was like, "Where have you been?" We told him about the book tour. He wrote down the book. He's got a goal to read more this year. He's so excited to buy We Need Your Art, and it was just so beautiful and such a little miracle. And I was like, oh. These are tiny sparkles in my day. So that was I've got loads of them. I just wrote them all down. It's only 2 p.m., but little miracles abound. But that was my favorite one.
That's awesome.
Mine was thanking my past self for showering last night so I could just roll out of bed this morning and be ready.
Had your back.
Exactly. I was like, I got a quiet morning. I got my breakfast. I didn't have to like freak out and rush. So that is my little miracle, is my quiet start.
Beautiful.
My little miracle is that my husband fed the cat this morning at like 3 a.m. so I did not have to get up and lose my sleep because I am an insomniac. So whenever I can get sleep is
you got to
awesome.
get it, baby. Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. I love little miracles.
Alrighty, now let's get into some of the harder questions here. Let's learn more about you, Amie, because we are so excited to understand the brain behind the masterpiece of everything that you do. And I know that you're such a calm presence for creatives on social media. I mean, this is something like when I'm in a bad place, I go to your page. It's just your words are inspiring and just like you feel like a friend, even though you're miles away. And I know that you equate so much of that to your journaling, and that is such a big problem. I mean, you just pulled out your journal now. Exactly. I mean, I didn't expect that. That's perfect. But is there anything else that you could equate to like that developed this mothering voice for yourself that really helped you to be able to like be, even for yourself, just you talk about so much how you talk to yourself and you take that child's hand inside of you. Is there anything else that you could equate to developing that?
Gorgeous question. Yeah, this like soft motherly voice has been such a crucial part of my own mental well-being, my own creative journey, and also the way I support other artists. It's this gentleness that I think so many of us like gatekeep from ourselves. And as you say, Kait, like a huge amount of it has been cultivated on the pages of my journal, but like it had to come from somewhere. And I often think about this, and I think about my own mother, like has it come from my mum? Like my mum is less gentle, more chaotic good.
Very
so
D&D
she has a more
there.
high vibrational energy, but she also was a very she loves a cuddle. Like she does have that motherly part of it. I'm like, maybe some of it's from there. Like I also have a very gentle father. Like did some of it come from, I don't know where this voice came from. And I think that's why it was such a shock to me when I found it on the pages of my journal. It was just like, it was the voice I was craving. And I think she was almost created as the antithesis to the cruelty that I had in my own mind, like the harshness, the demands, like I was so type A in my inner critic. And she, ironically, that part of myself made this other side of myself, which was everything I was craving, which is gentleness, which is compassion, which is like just this incredibly, like almost oozing, like golden voice that I found on the page. But a lovely question, maybe something I need to journal about more. And maybe I need to give my parents more credit, but and they certainly are a part of why I'm able to speak to myself like this. But I've never had someone speak to me in the way I speak to myself.
I mean, they always say that there's a dichotomy. Like, for as much as we talk such negativity and create this negativity, there always has to be the opposite of this positivity and this light. And so maybe that's what it is how that voice of your negativity came through, the voice of your positive would come through as well.
Yeah, like it demanded its opposite.
Exactly. It makes me so happy to hear that you had a like chaotic mom, because like if I ever did have a kid, I feel like I'm going to be a chaotic person, but I would love them to be as calm and just introspective as you. And so I'm like, okay, it happened.
My mom is like just, a raging ADHD. I got it from her. Just like crazy hair, like she's so creative. She has a million ideas. She's just there's so much energy there. And yeah, and like I have that, a lot of that in me as well. And I'm very grateful for that. Like almost like we describe her as chaotic good. There is no other way to describe her. She is chaotic good.
Oh, I love that.
Awesome. What I love about your voice too is that it's gentle, but also has a ferocity to it that just makes you sit up and listen. You know, there's this assuredness in it that while you're telling us these nice things that we need to hear, it's forceful, but in a gentle way. And I
Thank
believe you. And it's what creatives need. You need that gentleness, but you also need that insistence. Like, yes, you are good enough. There's no reason to doubt yourself.
This is really important. I take that really, that's a really beautiful compliment for me, because I love the idea that like I am able to marry these apparently opposing forces, which is, you know, gentle compassion and like fierce determination. And I think I've been told a story for so long that these two things don't work together. You can't be nice to yourself and achieve big things. You can't be gentle and compassionate with yourself and, you know, be a successful author. And I thought that like these two parts of myself were incompatible, and understanding that they're not incompatible, that they make the most incredibly potent and powerful force when they're combined. And so I really love that you see that in me. Thank you. Yeah, I am so gentle and so compassionate, and I'm also so fucking determined that artists understand that we are here to create and we need to take this really, really seriously.
You meld it together really well. I really saw it in We Need Your Art because Kait brought me into, you know, looking at your Instagram account because she is a huge fan. And I started, you know, watching your posts and stuff. And I have a problem with direct, prolonged eye contact. So
yeah.
a lot of your videos, I was like, I can't look, I can't handle this, which is something I should probably explore in and of itself on its own. But when I read your book, your voice came through so clearly, your message came through so clearly and so forcefully. I ended up highlighting like so many parts of this that really just resonated with me, that it was like Kait says, it was what we need to hear. It's the voice we need to hear and the tone that we need to hear. And it just comes across so beautifully in your writing.
Thank you so much. Like truly that's received. I'm very grateful to hear that.
I mean, honestly, the word mother is like the best experience because mothers are compassionate and loving, but they also will be like, you can do better. And I know you can, and I have faith in you, and I trust you. So
it's like Mama Bear.
Yeah,
yes.
Thank you. I love that. So funny.
Now,
I went to sorry, really quickly.
Oh, you go.
Quick anecdote. I went to it's actually such a long anecdote, but I'm gonna whittle it down.
Do it.
I went to an energy healer maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and she was like, "You're a mother." She was like, I don't know what to say to you. Like, you're a mother. Do you want kids? And I was like, I really don't want kids. And she was like, okay, well, it doesn't like it's in some way or other, like you will be a mother. And I was like, I've always like thought about that as I continue to do the work I'm doing, especially as someone who's not going to have kids. Like, what an interesting declaration that was, because I do feel it.
It's really funny you mentioned that because I had a dream years ago before I started writing a lot of my novels. And I don't want kids. I've never really wanted kids. And I had a dream that I was pregnant and I was giving birth. And, you know, I'm in the room, all these people around me. And what I give birth to is a book. Like someone just pulls a novel out of my hoo-ha. And I was like, what does this mean? And at the time I wasn't writing. I'm like, maybe there is a novel literally within me. And guess what? There was. So we're not all meant to be mothers of children.
Exactly. There's so many ways to be mother. And yes. I love that. And yeah, I love that you see that in me. Thank you for witnessing me in that.
Like CJ just said about your voice coming off the page, it's very clear. Like you have a very defined voice. It's very mothering, like we said. What did you do? What sort of practices to make sure that you maintained that throughout writing We Need Your Art?
Yeah, the We Need Your Art writing process was quite intense. I'm very famously known for like only writing 500 words a day as an author, but this book needed to be written very, very quickly within like less than 3 months. And so why did it need to be like, it took them like 2 years to put it out, but I needed to write it in 3 months. Like I have questions about that timeline, but whatever. I was able to do it. I've been preparing to do it. So I had multiple 500 word sessions a day. So it's very intense. And, you know, this is my first traditional publishing journey. So I was working with other people for the first time. So much of my journey as an author is just like me, James, and whoever the fuck I decide to employ, if I decide to employ anyone. And so really different. And there's a lot of pressure. And there was a lot of pressure. There's definitely a lot of times where I let the pressure get to me. I'm a super emotional, highly sensitive, also quite tired person. Like I was crying multiple times. And I think the experience, like reflectively, I look back on it, it was amazing, but it was very intense. I had my journaling practice every morning to catch me. And I just hate to keep harking back to it, but it is the thing that catches me every day. Like this is a practice that I do every day. And so I was able to keep that mothering voice there on the pages. I also think that my book, We Need Your Art, held me to account. You know, I have to practice what I preach, baby. And I'm not going to beat myself the fuck up through writing this book, like have my inner critic plague me while telling other people to like, you know, treat yourself kindly. My work holds me accountable in so many ways. Like, it's so funny. Like, I can't talk about the creative act without also partaking in the creative act. Like, if I want to continue my work as like, you know, this mother of creatives, this kind of, you know, I don't know, caretaker of artists, I can't do that work unless I'm writing my fiction. Like I would have there's no way I can avoid my fiction if I want to keep doing this work. And similarly, I have to take care of myself as a creative if I want to take care of other creatives. Like I have to be the example. And so my work holds me accountable a lot of the time.
I mean, the whole airplane notification or like put on your oxygen mask before helping others. I mean, that applies to like so much of life.
Exactly.
Yes, so yeah, you have to like learn to self-care to even think about self-caring others 100%.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean like I didn't like, I mean, I think also the brilliance is I navigated every single thing that I wrote in that book. Like I'm in it. Like I've not graduated from perfectionism. I've not graduated from procrastination. Like I'm fucking moving through every single one of those blocks that I write about. But I also have the tools to take care of myself as I navigate them.
Exactly. And I know you're like, oh, I harken back to my journaling, but honestly, that's so much who you are. Like that is just, and I know that in the book you talked about how you did the artist way, I believe, with the journaling every day. And I know CJ and I have our own like issues with that book of just like the dumping, and I've heard from other people too, but it's just like you took it and you made it your own in a way too, that made it also feel more safe space for the rest of us when we didn't like, connect to her version. And so I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think Julia has like, I mean, I wouldn't be where I am today without Julia Cameron. Her book gave me permission, and her work with the morning pages was where I started my journaling journey. But yeah, I know a lot of people just don't resonate with the way she says to do it. And I know a lot of people come to the journaling practice with a sense of perfectionism. Like I have to do it the way Julia says it, otherwise it's not legit. And so I think we all need to make space for making sure that we all know that journaling, it can be an incredible tool, but it must work for you. And so the 3-page rule to me is like, most people can't do it and most people shouldn't do it. 3 pages is too long. People just like get so caught up on the 3 pages rule. And there are some other things that I've learned that like just hold me and make sure journaling can be a safe space that I think wasn't in the artist way practice.
Yeah. I actually took it as a way that every time before I write, I like just sit down for 5 minutes and do the journaling because it gets me into the voice of like writing and the words coming into my head. And then anytime I get stuck, like a brain fog when I'm writing, I just take and I just start like dumping words out. They like you do. They don't have to make sense. They just dump on the page, and that gets me back into like, okay, I'm here again writing. I've got the person's voice. And so that's kind of how I morphed it into something I could use.
It's very cool. So useful.
Exactly. And going from that, like especially with your journaling, you know, you have this inspiring, motivational words and sayings that you constantly post on Instagram. You handwrite it, you paint it. It's become an art form. Like you have transformed it to being the newest art out there. It's been on billboards, it's been on walls. You painted a wall yourself recently with all of that. Like what convinced you one day just to like write it out on a piece of paper or paint it like you did and say, I'm going to take a picture of this and I'm going to put it on Instagram?
This the origin like is just a terribly boring story. It's like it sounds like it should be like this holy moment where I figure out like this incredible new way to transmute my ideas. But I have a very strategic part of my brain. Like I have quite that entrepreneurial side of me where I just want to solve problems. And I was noticing that the Instagram was pushing out posts with faces and wasn't pushing out posts of written words. And I was like, well, I'll just fucking hold signs. I'll just hold signs of my own words. And that got started with me, you know, creating these big signs, and I'd hold them. And that fixed that problem. And then I was like, okay, this is actually really fun. And so it just evolved. And then, you know, classically, I was just like, could I do it even bigger? Could I do it even bigger? Could I do it even bigger? And I've just got canvas bigger and bigger and bigger. Then I was like, could I do it on a wall? Like, could I do it on a teapot? Like I start seeing like random things around. I'm like, could I write a love note on that? And I think it's just that artist curiosity of like, well, if I could do it that way, could I do it this way? And it's just grown and grown and grown.
The
I love
world
that. I
is
feel
your
like
journal.
Exactly. Like I could put my words anywhere.
I feel like it was like your middle finger, like, fine, you want a face, I'll give you a face.
Yeah, I love that. As somebody who just posts photos on Instagram and refuses to do videos, I love that you were just bucking the system and just trying to be like, F you algorithms, and just see what would happen.
You gotta fucking do what you want to do on that app. Yeah. And there are ways you can play it. And as I just did play it, you can fuck around with Zuck, but it's got to feel good. And it's got to delight you. Unfortunately, it really delighted me.
Exactly. Yeah, I've always found social media to be a very draining aspect. So I hope one day to get to my delighted post making at some point.
I hope you do too, Kate. I truly do believe that there are ways that we can, find very joyful practices of sharing on social media. And I think it's really fucking hard. It's getting harder by the day. But I think it's because we have to be incredibly rebellious and incredibly in tune with what we want to do on an app that is literally only rewarding you if you do what they want you to do.
Yeah. I actually wrote a Substack article about this, like, why I'm not quitting social media and how to find the joy. Kate, maybe I should send it to you because it may be helpful.
Or as a good friend, I should already be reading it. But anyway.
Oops.
Well, I always hold a good place for social media because it's actually how CJ and I met. We met just by chance. I was crying on social media about needing a writing partner, and she was just like, raised her hand in the comments.
Oh my God, I love this.
Hi.
Yeah.
And we've been best friends, sisters ever since.
Yeah.
So beautiful. I think, obviously it's really fucking easy to be very, very negative about these spaces because there is so much wrong with them. But there is an incredible amount of beauty on them and connection and art. And we need to be careful and we need to be nuanced. But I am not quitting social media either. And because it's a place of profound connection for me.
You just made me have like this moment where it's like how we could buck the system is let's put the beauty back in the world. Let's put this happiness and turn social media into a safe, happy place again. Have those accounts where people can go and know that it's okay.
And feel safe.
Yeah.
I'm writing a Substack at the moment about how so often the negativity bias essentially is what the Substack's about how we get so much more attention when we complain or we fearmonger, and why social media has become this place, a platform that it's far easier to talk about the problem rather than to talk about any sort of beauty or solution or art in many ways. And so we have almost like, for me especially, and I think it often happens with people who are more left wing, you get just problem, and like a lot of people just talking about the hard things in the world, which is a necessary thing to do. But I think we are losing, like the negativity bias means that online we are losing like beauty, and we're losing a sense of safety, and we're losing art in many ways. We're losing solutions because we're so addicted to talking about what's wrong. And again, there is a place for that, but I just wonder like if we could go the next step.
Well, it's so funny because I just started, I'm going to butcher the name, it's French, but I just started watching the new show Etoile on Prime. And the whole time I was watching, I was thinking of you, Amie, because it literally feels like it's a love letter to creatives. Like they're wanting in a show form to say the same words you're saying, where like art saves lives, art saves humanity, art saves all of this stuff. And they do it in the form of a ballet academy, ballet companies. And I was just like, you need to watch it. It is.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
But it was just like the whole time, it's like, this is the narrative we need to keep putting out in the world. And I love these big showrunners because it's Amy Sherman-Palladino, who did Gilmore Girls, and Marvelous Mrs. Maisel made it. And I love that these big names are starting to say this narrative out into the common, space.
So important. I think we're just getting this fatigue. Like, I'm fucking tired. I didn't even ask any of you if I could swear on this podcast.
You can totally swear all the time.
I live in New Jersey, so you can totally.
I live in Florida. We say fuck all the time.
Yeah, I mean, you can feel the social media fatigue. It's why so many of us are leaving. And it's like, well, what about we change the space? And what about we change the stories we're telling ourselves? Anyway, big job.
Yes.
100%. Yes. But I feel like that's all I have to, like, that's what I do. Whenever I see a problem or something I don't like, I'm always like, well, how am I going to change it? Because I don't like it. I'm this person that's like, let me change it.
Okay. And I love that that's your attitude, because I think too often we're seeing people being like, we trend towards apathy because we're getting inundated so like ferociously with this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, that most people just want to opt out. And I think I love that you say that, Kate, because I think it's actually a trait of the artist because the artist cannot move to apathy. We're here to create. And so when you see problems, you think, how do I fix it? Which is the creative's answer. And I just fucking love that about us. And I think it's why I'm like wanking on all the time about how I think creatives are here to move us into a new and better world.
I'm not gonna cry. It's fine. Holy shit.
I remember reading that section in your book too about how it's up to us to help bring beauty back into the world through our art. And I completely agree with it. And how you talk about how many people haven't made their art because they've been discouraged from pursuing it, or it's not, in association with gender norms and things. And it's just, I do think that if we were all just allowed to do our art and just spread it out into the world, we would be happier, because we need pretty things to look at. We need pretty things to read. It makes a difference in your emotional health, in your mental health.
People, yes, like fuck.
Yes.
Like, yes. I think so often we think, oh, how could my like doodling do anything? And it's like, Martha Beck speaks really beautifully, and I want to reread her work about this, actually, because I'm not going to articulate it perfectly, but she talks about like the accumulative effect of lots of artists doing very small baby creative steps. And it's very easy to look at me, the individual. Like I'm at the moment, I'm coloring in like a little, really bad. I'm very bad. But again, like how could that make a difference? And it's like, yeah, but if you look at like the accumulative effect, if you had like hundreds and hundreds of us coloring in for like an hour a day, do you know, like it moves, it changes things. Like art and the creative act changes things collectively. And we need to understand that the more of us creating, the healthier a society we are.
But I feel like we also have to look at the individual scale, because what is that coloring doing for you internally? How is that shifting you internally so that when you go out to the world, you smile at the cashier?
That's why accumulatively it's like fucking insane,
Yeah.
because on an individual level, it's already so powerful. Like it will change your life. Like it will change your life. And I just want anyone who doesn't believe that to like turn up at my door and I will fight them.
I don't know if it's the same for where you are in England as well, but like the American thing has really become where what can we do with any second of our time to monetize it and to make money and to do this, that we've lost this quiet time to retrospect and color and just do the things that aren't going to produce anything except internal change. And I hate that, because I hate everyone looks at the money aspect of it.
So fucking dumb is that no one's asking like how to monetize your ice bath. And like we're all very happy to like do these kind of like quite masculine alpha moves of like, no one's asking if you're going to monetize your runs. Like we're allowed to exercise and we're allowed to do a lot of these like classic like physical health things without saying, oh, I'm going to turn it into my new job. But we're not allowed to do anything creative without it producing financial value. And it just really fucking pisses me off.
Yeah. The older I get, the more I am pissed off by so many things where, the male and the sports related type things are promoted, and women's things are arts.
It feels sexist.
Yeah. And it resonated with me when I was younger. Like I would notice it, but as I'm 40, almost 42, and just in this last few years, I just really get incensed when I experience it. I'm like, why? Why does it have to be like that? It's not fucking fair. And it just pisses me off.
It pisses me off too. I think there's something about like the creative act often produces something physical. And I think the idea that an actual like the creative act is so productive, like you create something, and the idea that production, is that me? No,
that's me. Sorry.
Great. the idea that production, like the production of something, and then that something isn't being monetized, I think is very confusing. Whereas like exercise and ice baths and breathing exercises, like these don't actually, they're all internal products, whereas art has internal products and external products. And capitalism is like, you should sell that.
Yeah, and we buy into it.
You said it so perfectly in your book too about how so many of these huge companies, conglomerates, would not be where they are if they didn't have the artists. Like you said, Spotify.
They'd be nowhere.
They're not making the art. They're feeding off us. Spotify, YouTube, all this stuff, like Substack now, even Instagram. Like it's all what we give them, and
Yeah. It deeply annoys me. Uh, and I think, I mean, that's a huge conversation about how we have so many systems that just extract value, and we live in a system that basically puts creatives as like the underlings, whereas we are the ones that make something, and they just rob us of money. And we've been fed a story that creatives, don't make a lot of money, and that our endeavors, don't deserve a lot of financial reward. When in reality, like, creatives make a fucking shit ton of money. It's taken from us by these big structures and big companies.
I love that you shared your advance publicly with
Thank you.
everybody for the book because one, we're all curious, but number two, it shows that art can be well paid. You are extremely well paid for the work of writing this book, and that's amazing. You're striking a blow for every artist out there who is just trying so hard to make a living, and you did it. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it was today, even in the car on the way home from the gym, I just like randomly, like, intrusive thought, like, why the fuck would I share my advance? I literally was like, why did I do that? And it's because, it's a very vulnerable and not done thing, because I think these industries thrive off of us not knowing how much artists get paid. I got paid $300,000 to write We Need Your Art. I got paid $10,000 for my upcoming fiction book with a trad pub. We need these conversations so that we are powerful, and so that other artists are powerful, and so that authors know, like, Penguin is it makes $1 billion profit every year. It has a lot of money to give people. Publishing is like constantly wanking on about how it's like really struggling. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
These, especially the big five, like, it's a different conversation when you're talking about indie publishers, because they're fighting against like huge monstrosities and monopolies. But the big five have so much fucking money to spread around. So shut the fuck up.
Agreed.
And I think, talking about a larger advance for me as a debut trad author is important, because, and I speak to other authors who are just navigating this shit in the dark. I'm like, you should know what you can get.
Know your worth. Know your worth.
Yeah.
Exactly. And coming back around to your beautiful book, baby, because we want to make sure everyone knows what this is.
Kait.
She's beautiful. We talked a little bit about the writing process for this book, but you've started your career in a very fiction space, very self-published space. How was, diving into this nonfiction, working with traditional publishers, how is it different than what you had already been like practicing and training in and knew what to do and all of that?
Yeah, I mean, it was a really interesting process, because it is incredibly different to self-pubbing. I am initially a fiction author, and I always will be a fiction author. I had self-published nonfiction as well. I just put them up as PDFs on my Squarespace.
I have one.
Yeah, baby. You're a super fan, Kait. I love that you've been around for a while. And that was amazing. Like, PDFs on my website paid for, like, that's why I could quit my waitressing job. It was incredible. Like, self-publishing has and will continue to be an incredible way for me to connect with readers and to make my money. But it's also very solo. I do everything, make all the calls, choose everything by myself. And so the biggest difference is you have these huge teams. And I was with Penguin over 3 different regions, and there was a fucking load of cooks in the kitchen. And as someone who had been just Amie for all of my creative career, was really different. And initially I really liked it, because I love the idea of other people wanting my book to do well, and other people having a vested interest in my book doing well. And I still really, and I love having an agent. I love that I have someone on my side, and I have, fortunately, an incredible agent. This probably been one of the most amazing things to come out of this traditional publishing journey, is my relationship with my nonfiction agent is incredible. She's a real, like, grassroots, fuck the system kind of woman, and that's exactly who I need to have on my side. But also having all of these publishers, editors, like, there was a lot of people involved, and just navigating the amount of literally admin that you have to do as a traditional published author. Like, again, I had a particularly unusual structure, because I was working over 3 different regions with one publisher. So I had 3 editors, and I had, 3 separate marketing teams that I was coordinating with. So there was a huge amount of communication that was happening. Again, I didn't super mind it. It was interesting for me. I can imagine that I would mind it more the second time round, because I'm no longer curious as to how the system works. But for me, initially, it was curious. I wanted to ask questions. I wanted to see what was going to happen. Like, basically just seeing behind the curtain of this industry that I have, looked up to and been like, what the fuck are they doing over there for so long? But yeah, it came, it has its benefits. It has its drawbacks, definitely. They move very slowly. And I am someone, as a self-published author, like I could just publish my book tomorrow if I wanted to, you know? By the time they approached me initially to the time the book came out, it was like nearly 2 years. And for
Wow.
me, like with an entrepreneurial mindset, and I just want to get shit out there, like that's a very long time for me to wait.
It
And
is.
I was like, what are you doing? But obviously, like it's not then working up with multiple authors at once. The industry and the people within the industry are underpaid, and there's a lot of issues there. But super fascinating, absolutely no regrets. Got to work with some incredible people.
Okay, so if you had to choose though, I think you prefer doing it yourself then, in
I
the
love
idea of it
they
all.
are both so different, and I really want to continue doing both in my future.
Okay. That's exciting. I know other authors who do both, which I find is great. Like they'll
Mm.
have like I know one author has a 5 book deal with Trad Publishing, but she puts out like novellas self-pubbed like
I
all the
think
time.
it's a really cool. I see a lot of authors do it at the moment as well, and I think it's very cool. And I like the idea of spreading out your risk. I also know that I never ever want to be an author that only has income coming from gatekeepers. The
Mm.
idea that
Oh,
I need the next book deal from them, and that like
Yeah.
if they don't give it to me, I'm not going to be okay, makes me feel physically sick.
wow. I love that actually. I never
Yeah.
even thought of it that way because I'm probably going the self-publishing route because rejection has come and I believe in my book.
Yeah, you do.
And I know CJ still wants to try trad publishing, but it's just like that is so true. Like having the ability to control my own destiny with my writing and my
Hmm.
income is just so much more important.
It's so powerful. And I've even felt it a little bit, after getting such a big book deal, for me. I mean, it's definitely not a massive book deal in the scheme of
Oh,
things. People have
it
got
is.
paid a
This
lot,
is pretty
but
fucking
yeah,
big.
like $300,000. I'm
That is
like,
some life-changing money right there,
it
sweetie.
is. And it gets paid out in four different loads, and
Doesn't matter. It's
Amanda
still
gets a
there.
lot, but it's still incredibly, life-changing for me. It is life-changing money. And me thinking, okay, so like, I didn't hit any bestseller lists. Like, what will be my next? If I want to go with another nonfiction book with a trap publisher, what will they pay me? And the idea that like I need them, like,
Mm.
just makes me feel so like I don't want artists to need these institutions. I think working with them on your own terms can be really, really beautiful, but to need them is to be so trapped. And I my true north is autonomy as an artist. I just want to feel free. I do not want to feel like I am begging these people to need me. They don't. I'm done. I just can't handle it. I
Full
cannot
stop.
handle it.
Period.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you say it there. We're here to break the norms. We're here to push the system. How can we do that when we're being beholden to somebody saying like, well, you
Hmm.
didn't hit this mark, so we're not going to do this anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, terrifying. So a lot of this rebuilding, I've just come back from tour, is like looking at like, I mean, I already have like a lot of different streams of income as an author, but like just making sure that I feel safe so that if I do choose to work with TradPub again, like it's a fucking choice and it's not something I have to have.
Yeah. And I feel like a lot of trad publishing isn't offering the same level of quality as it used to before. Like you had like 3 marketing teams, but you had a $300,000 advance, which means you're an A-list author, which means a ton's going. Yes, go ahead. What?
I'm like trying to figure out like how to say this without like being really like it was very shocking how little support I got.
Okay. That
There
I
were
am
3 marketing
okay.
teams.
Interesting.
There were.
Interesting. Okay. That just proves my point. They're just not doing as much.
They
And
don't
I
have the
was
resources, I don't think.
and I was so happy to see your book was beautifully edited and copy edited because I read a lot of books that are not these days. And as a former copy editor, that pisses me off. And why are we paying? Why are we going with these big publishers who promise us the sun, moon, stars when they can't even fucking edit a book?
I must say that editorial wise, I had an amazing editor and an amazing processes with copy, with line edits. Like that was all amazing.
Mm.
And then again, like I think one of the biggest shocks for me was I saw like what for me was a very big advance. And I was like, also I saw a lot of talk about how they were going to back this book. I get on calls with like 12 people I've never seen before, and they're like, we're so excited, we're so excited. I'm like, great, wow, this is going to be crazy. I would say 95% of the marketing was done by me, maybe more.
Yeah. And that's so different than how it was 20 years ago, 15
Yeah.
years ago, where they put so much of the company behind the books. And now it's all down to the author. Even for an A-list author, it's down to the author. That's pretty shocking.
Yeah, and I kept thinking like, is this because? And like, I know that like I never want to like shit on these people because I know they're really badly underpaid, and I
Hmm.
think they have a lot less resources and a lot less power than we assume they do. Um, but yeah, for me, that was one of the bigger shocks. Was there was big talk, very little follow through, and a protection of me not being able to see what was going on because I think like I just wasn't privy to the
Yeah.
conversations that were going on, which again, for someone who self-publishes, I'm like, can I please know what's happening?
Yeah.
I'm following up on like, should we try and get on this podcast, this podcast, this podcast? And I'm, not really hearing back. And I think a lot of the times maybe it would have been better for me to just approach. And so I did a lot of the approaching for a lot of the podcasting stuff. It's a huge conversation, but you'll hear it a lot from most authors. The marketing teams behind these publishers just don't have a huge amount of oomph.
And then they get mad at you because they blame it on you for not getting anywhere when it comes to like, and
Yes.
the New York Times sellers list, any of the bestsellers list. And it's like, well, no, it's not just
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If that's going to be the attitude, why not just publish it yourself and reap all the financial rewards and have total artistic control over it?
Yeah, I think this is a really legitimate question that all authors need to understand is that I think what publishing houses are, even for, an advance as big as mine, was they were an amazing editorial team. Obviously, they paid me. And they were also, or they were basically a distribution function, like they made the book, they distributed it. And they have relationships with bookstores. But, in Australia was the only country that distributed that book to basically any bookstores. In the US, I could hardly find it anywhere. In the UK, I can hardly find my book fucking anywhere. Like, I don't know what's happening, and I asked my editor in the US, they said, we mostly just sell to Amazon these days. Like, that's the biggest orders. Like, like shit's, there was a lot of times where I just like my expectations were just wrong. And I had to go through the hard way and learn that it was like, whoa, like, on my first day trying to find a fucking book in New York City when it came out, it was nowhere.
I read that post. That was heartbreaking because
really
as an author,
hard.
you dream of that and you weren't able to have that dream.
And I'd heard, so many stories about difficult moments in traditional publishing, but I hadn't ever heard anyone struggle with distribution to bookstores before. And I'm like, but like no information is given to me about that. I think that's something I find hard. Like I wish there was more transparency around that. I want to know why. Like, could I have done something different? Should I have approached bookstores? Like, did I need to have a meeting with the sellers in the publishing house? I never spoke to anyone who sells the books in the publishing houses. Like, anyway, I could talk about this for so long.
I was exploring hybrid publishing last year, and one of the companies that I was talking to, they were telling me all about like their marketing and their distribution. And I'm like, okay, that sounds great. And they were really pushing online. And I'm like, well, what about in stores, in print? And they're like, oh no, we find like the same thing you said, like there's just not a lot of books that are actually in the stores. We sell to Amazon, we sell online. So it's just not a thing that's pushed anymore for some reason. I mean, there's always books in stores when I go there. So,
and I think it's hard is like to understand that like I'm in bookstores all the fucking time, like
Same.
all the time. And I just feel, and I felt and expressed that my audience, they're in bookstores all the time.
Yeah.
And they're going to see my book in a bookstore and be like, oh, that's that chick that yells at me about making art and I'm going to get it. And not having that, I felt has been a real weakness. Which is really, really interesting.
That's crazy. I didn't even, because I pre-ordered mine, so I didn't even like, I like going and buying the book in person. I hate when I have to order it online. Like, I really do.
Me too. I love a good bookstore shop.
But I'm like, I didn't even think about this because I just wanted. So that's crazy.
Yeah, it's really interesting. But
Wow.
These are all, I mean, so curious, right? Like such a huge learning journey. And again, like I literally had only good experiences with the people in the publishing realm. Like they were all legends. Most of them are just people who fucking love books. But the systems itself, like they just don't function very well.
All right. Well, that is some facts we all needed to know.
Filing that away for future.
I know, CJ. I'm trying to convince CJ to self-publish at some point.
I think it's so well worth giving it a fucking go and just seeing what happens, And then I think understanding that you have the power to distribute your own creations is it's something nice to have in your back pocket, even if you don't do it again.
And I do feel like Barnes& Noble now is pushing more of their self-published titles even on the shelves physically. Like if you hit a certain milestone, they will put your book on the shelf,
It's
which
very
I think
cool,
is
isn't it?
beautiful.
I do think we're in a changing transitionary era of the author and how we distribute books. Like I think that's why publishing is kind of like all over the place, because the industry is changing really quickly.
Yeah.
And self-publishing is a very exciting space, in my opinion.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, CJ, I know that you had an exciting topic you wanted to talk about today.
I do. I
The
want to
sheet.
talk about your 2-week reset challenge.
Amazing.
Because
You
I
got
did
to
it.
do it.
You did it? Amazing.
I did it. I finished it just Wednesday, so like 2
Well
days
done.
ago. So I want to talk about my experience with that
Great, I
because
would
it
love
was
that.
pretty life-changing. So a little background about my typical writing process. I write fiction, and I normally like to write in big chunks of time. So I need to immerse myself in the world that I'm creating and just block everything else out. So my preferred amount of time to write is 6 to 8 hours a day. I will take 3 to 4 hours if that's all I can get, but I like 6
So
to
this
8.
is
I
a
can.
big challenge for you.
Yes. And, I have a 9 to 5 muggle job and a blog and a podcast and a husband and a cat and friends. And finding time to block off that much time is really difficult. So I was putting it on a Saturday or a Sunday or the whole weekend. I've even taken time off from work, like paid time off, vacation time, just to write or revise my novels. And it's great when I can do that and it works, but it has been a lot harder to do that lately. And, I'm, like you said, I'm tired. By the time the weekend comes, I just want to relax and I
Of
want to
course you do.
rest. And more alarmingly, I have found out that lately I have gotten like a bit of paralysis when it comes to writing. There was one day about 2 weeks and a day ago where I just was supposed to write for the whole day and I couldn't. I just felt paralyzed. It felt impossible. I texted Kait. I reached out to her and I was spiraling. I'm like, I can't do this. And she's like, woman, get a hold of yourself. Like, just try
Yes.
30 minutes. You can do 30 minutes. But that seemed impossible to me as well. So I just kind of laid on the couch and I was like, I'm a failure as an artist. And I couldn't bring myself to do anything. And that night, I was like, maybe I should read Amie's book. So I opened up the book and it opened up just so much for me, so much. In that small magic section in Act 2, you talk about how a writer tries to write in big blocks and burns out quickly or gets gun shy about having to accomplish so much in one go. And I was like, okay, Amie, I am listening. I hear you. You're speaking directly to me right now. Because I was definitely feeling burnt out. I was feeling paralyzed. And I was also feeling a bit resentful toward writing. You talk about in We Need Your Art, how creating art and your writing shouldn't be this big martyred act where you're like, I'm giving up so much to do my art. And like, yes, there are compromises, there are sacrifices, and I like that. That's okay. But I don't want to give up so much else in my life that just to make my art,
We
Go
need
ahead,
to
Kait.
paraphrase this. She's writing her 4th book. This isn't just like, this is 4 books in.
Yeah. So I'm a little more tired now than I was
Yeah, of
like the
course
first
you
book. I'm like,
are.
I'm going to crank this
Of
out
course
and be
you are.
awesome, So I came to your 2-week reset challenge and I was like, all right, let's give it a shot. And I set myself a goal and then I halved it per your suggestion. I wanted to write for 2 hours a day, which is very unrealistic for me given my schedule and my commitment. So I halved it to 1 hour max and 30 minutes minimum.
Great.
And I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't think it was going to work for me because I can be a bit of a snot and
Yes.
I can be a classic only child. And I was like, I think I got a handle on everything. I think I know everything. I can't be taught. And then quite regularly, something comes along and smacks me on the ass and schools me. And that is what this reset challenge did. And I didn't think I was going to do well if I wrote in small increments of time, but I wasn't writing anything at all. So I'm like, any writing is better than nothing. And I was like, well, after 2 weeks, I can just see how it goes. And then I can go back to what I like if it doesn't work for me. It changed everything. And I am so happy I did this challenge. So I did my 2 weeks of writing every day. And like I said, I just ended this past Wednesday. I did miss 4 days, so I did fail. 2 were due to just time constraints.
Yeah,
I
you
know.
know what?
You said I
Fucking
hope you
great.
fail.
Yeah.
You said, I hope you fail. And I did. So thank you. I made you proud and failed. And one was due to just a headache, a migraine. And the other day was due to I just don't want to be an adult today. So I just ate chips and walked around the park, But the other days I wrote. And there were days where I didn't think I was going to write. And I was like, let me just do the 30 minutes. and I did the whole hour. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, okay. And I was pretty good at stopping at the hour. Usually I'm
Well
trying to
done.
squeeze in more. I just stopped. I worked on 4 chapters that were really giving me a tough time. They're like the meat of my novel. It's where the story starts to turn. And by the end of the challenge, I felt good enough about these chapters that I sent them to Kait, who is my critique partner, to review. And it was great. I love touching base with my art every day. One of the chief complaints I have about my block writing times is that since they are so spaced out, weekend to weekend or more,
Yeah.
I have a hard time remembering my
Of
story because I'm in my
course.
40s. I forget a lot of shit these days.
Also, it's a whole nother life for you to come
Yeah,
back into a whole other world.
yeah.
I'm just so you know, CJ, I haven't had anyone fully like give me the download on their 2 week
Oh,
reset
really?
yet. So this has just delighted me.
Oh my gosh. It was just, it helps me remember what I'm doing because I can go forward, and it made me comfortable with writing every day. Like I write a blog, so I'm used to writing something every day, but writing
Yeah.
fiction isn't something
Yeah.
I do every day. And writing fiction is my first love. It's what I've always done. It's why I want to be published, why I write these stories. And, during COVID, when I had so much time, I was writing all the time. It was great. But it's become increasingly harder and more pressure. And writing every day alleviated so much of the guilt I feel about the bad days. So I'm like, I'll just write my 30 minutes and it's okay if it's a little bit of crap, because I can
Yeah.
just do it again tomorrow. And it
Yeah.
took that
It's
pressure
less
off.
it's less expensive or it's less like valuable almost in a
Yes.
good way.
Yeah. I didn't have to
Mm.
make the most of every single second that I cleared in my schedule because there's
Yes.
tomorrow, and
Oh,
it's great. And I love being in flow with my creativity every day because I want to live a life of a writer, not have a career as a writer. I wanted to just embrace it all the time. And I felt like I was doing this again. Like when I first started writing, I just couldn't get enough of it. And I tried to squeeze it in everywhere I could. And that's what I was doing in. And that leads me to the best part is that there was one day toward the end of the challenge where I had a major breakthrough on these chapters. And I wrote for the whole day. I broke your rule and I went beyond the max time. And I don't regret it because I'm convinced I had this day because I made a lot of shitty art in the past 2 weeks.
fuck yeah.
And I got it all out of my system. And then the excellent art came. Well,
It's
Kait
so
will be the judge of
beautiful.
that because she has the chapters now. But but I think
Pressure.
I untangled that knot that I was
Fuck,
trying
that
to get
feels
through.
good. Oh my God,
Yeah.
CJ. Well, you've made my day. I'm so excited to tell James about this. I love
Yes.
it.
I loved
Your
it.
first
Do you think it will
testimonial.
do you think it will be a practice you continue?
Yes, I wrote yesterday. I will keep trying to write at least a half hour to an hour every day. I also discovered that I think my ideal writing time per day would be that 2 hours. An hour feels a little short for me to get into some things. And I do feel that if I were in the editing stage and not so much the heavy revision stage, I could do just an hour a day.
Yeah, yeah.
But again, 2 hours is just not, I can't fit that into my day.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Touching base with it every day for a half hour, an hour, it's doable in my mind. And it also clearly it fucking works.
Yeah,
So
fuck
I'm
yeah.
gonna keep doing that. And I did it
Yes.
yesterday. I'm gonna do it today. 3 p.m., 4 p.m. is around the time I like to do it.
Stunning.
I just wait,
Oh,
for my
CJ.
lunch hour and take it then. And that's what I do.
I'm really fucking proud of you. I'm particularly proud of you because I am also deeply stubborn and believe that I have the answer all the time,
Yes.
and I hate to be taught anything. Like
Yep.
teaching me is a shit
Yep.
show.
Yeah.
And so I'm just in awe. And I'm so like fucking honored.
I'm in awe too. I did not expect to have this profound a change in everything. And it really just, it resonated with me. It changed the way I feel about my art. It brought back the love. I'm going to get all emotional. It brought back the
delicious.
love of my art because I
Yeah.
feel like I was losing that in the paralysis and the burnout. Like you talk so much in your book about burnout, and I feel that all the time since I'm trying to balance the creative with the
Yeah, it's a
non-creative
lot.
life. And it just,
Every day you get to be a writer, you know? And that's just
yes.
it's like it's a part of you every day. And like I mean, it's just so beautiful to me this claiming of like such an important part of who we are on a regular basis. This
Yes.
ain't about the weekend, baby. This is our lives.
Yeah.
You can't rip the writing away from me. It is who I am.
Yes.
And I love that really like concreted itself in you. So beautiful. So grateful for that, CJ.
I never thought she would be a small chunk rider. We've had conversations,
I did
and
it.
she's just like, no, I have to do this. I have to get in it. And you were the one that pulled it off.
I did it.
Yep, I see the wisdom in doing it every day a little bit. It doesn't have to be fucking Shakespeare every time you sit down to write, you know.
Amen.
It can
It could
be
be
whatever it is.
crap.
It can be crap. And there were definitely days of a lot of crap.
Baby.
But
yeah,
I was like, all right, Amie says it's okay. I can write shit.
every
It's
time
fine.
you write crap, Amie very proud. Very, very proud.
Then you would be excessively proud of me these last
I am
2
so
weeks.
proud.
It's like a manure pile of crap. But that's what
Stunning.
got me to the best part and got to the breakthrough.
Yeah.
And boom.
Fucking just so joyful. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Now, I know we're getting close to the hour mark, but there's one more topic that I want to talk about
No,
since
let's
CJ
go.
got her 2 weeks conversation in. I know that you've spoken multiple times on Instagram about wanting to, not being able to connect so much with the neurodivergent artists and all that. I know recently you've come out that you also now are neurodivergent with your ADHD as well. I'm actually neurodivergent. I've recently been discovered I have autism.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was reading your book, I know you say all that and you struggle, but I don't know, I was reading your book and everything you said felt that it was written for the neurodivergent author, at least for me. Like everything
Thank you
really
for saying that.
connected from a place of being like the soothing, we can do little chunks, we can fail, we are the identity of an artist and all that. Like, how do you connect now? Because now that you feel that you can have a voice, because I know you were struggling so hard to even have a voice in it because, you didn't think you had
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I know,
it's been such an interesting journey.
and I know James too. I was wondering how much James played a part in that as well.
Huge part.
Like,
yeah.
I think he's come out as well about it on one of your
Yeah.
podcasts. I try not to
No, that's cool. I will talk everyone through it. But basically, James, my partner James, he edited this book very intensely, and there's definitely a few sentences in there that are not mine, and definitely his.
I love that though. I love that you guys are partners so
The
much.
collaboration.
The creative collaboration that went in on that book was just so profound, and like at times really difficult. Like at times we would just like fuck off, but at other times it was like the greatest joy. James has autism, and I was diagnosed late last year with ADHD, and so it is a neurodiverse book. Like it was written by 2 neurodiverse people, and I think so often I am speaking to neurodiverse people. Creatives are so often neurodiverse. We're just differently wired, so many of us. Ironically, I had a hugely difficult time with the ADHD community before I understood that this was something I was also experiencing because of what CJ was just talking about, because of I was asking creators to do little bits each day. And I was getting a lot of criticism saying that at the worst criticism was that it's ableist and that it's not thinking about ADHD creatives, and this is not something that's possible for ADHD creatives. So you can imagine when I got my diagnosis, I was like, oh baby, you guys are about to hear something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always been very sensitive and trying to understand that, like, not everyone's brains work the same, and we all are incredibly different, whether we're neurodiverse or not. But I love that you say that, Kait. I like that you recognize that it is a book written by neurodivergent people, and I'm glad that it spoke to you as someone with autism.
Mm-hmm. It really did. I mean, I don't know. It's just the terminology, the word choices, the flow, the grace to be who we are. Like so much of this book, whether or not you're neurodivergent, I felt so much of this book was just like, you are who you are. Do your art the way you want to do it, and just fuck the world and what they say you have to do art. And that was such a I needed to hear moment too, because I'm in the final edits. I'm about to self-publish. Like your 80% rule blew me away. Like I started crying at the end of this book. I will only admit, I was tearing, I was crying. I was like, oh my God. And especially like just recently finding out, like it's been a really big journey. I've backslid. I've definitely regressed. Like they all say, when you're diagnosed as an adult, you regress for a little bit.
Do they say that? Because I feel that massively since my diagnosis.
Yes, they say because, you've been, especially for autists, I'm speaking from an autism.
Right, for autism. Yeah, okay.
It's funny too, the alarm you heard earlier was for my husband. He has ADHD. That was one of his alarms to tell me for him to do something.
It's a special combo.
So we're like you and James just flipped.
Yeah.
And I know for autistic speaking that, we masked for so long. We hid it. We we
Yeah.
tried to look normal. I believed for so long if I just found that key, I could be normal and had to do all this stuff. So when I found out, it was like the mask just went away and I couldn't get it
Yeah.
back. And I regressed like horribly, like barely able to take care of my self-regression. And so your book came at a time where I was just like, I needed to hear all this and like build myself back up to not be masking, but just be
To be you.
existing. Yeah, to accept me for who I am at the moment.
I wrote down as you were talking, I think maybe what you are seeing in the book is like to become an artist is to unmask. And so I feel like it's almost a similar journey, like, when we navigate our neurodivergency and we try and unmask and unteach, unlearn what we've been taught by society. It's a very similar journey we go on as artists.
Oh my God, you said that so perfect. That's exactly what I meant when that's exactly how I felt reading the book. It's like I was masking and accepting, like as I'm accepting my neurodivergent self, I'm accepting the version of who I am as an artist. Because I feel like being an artist and that label is like calling yourself, like when you found out you have autism, it's like you're putting on a label, sadly, but you're accepting that this is who you are. You're going to be quirky and weird, and you're going to have to live life you are, and you're going to have to write down when you have an idea. And it was the very same journey, and that's what it felt like as I was taking two masks off and
so
accepting
beautiful.
two versions of myself as one.
I love that.
So,
I think to be a creative, it demands unmasking, which is, really interesting. I haven't thought about that before. I'm very grateful for that perspective.
We are not meant to look like the crowd. We're
We are
meant to
not.
stand out and have the weird
We are meant to
everything.
be so weird. And I am so grateful for this journey of being a creative because I'm just constantly learning that. No, Amie, be weirder. Like, no, Amie, don't be like them, be like you. Like, just, it's a constant permission slip, if you can handle it, to just fuck with whatever you're being told to do and do what you need to do.
And I think it's so important to have these communities where you feel safe doing that. I love that you have the Inspired Collective and you give space for that because it's hard. We're ridiculed so much in the world. We're made fun of. We're told like you're weird. Like, why are you doing that? You're not fitting in. We don't have friends. Or, I remember being bullied so much as a kid and not knowing why. Now I know why.
Yeah.
And it's like, I love that we can find other people like this and that you've opened that door and you've made a book even to help us. You made us a guide map and I just really appreciate it. And so you spoke, at least to one neurodivergent person.
Yeah,
you spoke profoundly to me.
Thank you. I love that. You're right. Like, I think this is why I do the work we do, because unmasking as an artist is like so fucking beautiful and so fucking hard. And we deserve community and support and each other. We need each other as we do this. Even the most introverted of us, I often underscore this, like, I am so introverted. I need people as I navigate this journey.
It's my turn. Now, last question I want to ask you. Well, kind of two, but one's like just a wrap up. But last question I want to ask you. Well, you've been on this creative journey for so long. You got to do all this. What is one thing you wish was in the book that did not get in from a creative's perspective?
The word fuck.
I remember reading that in the beginning where you're like, I have to put screw instead of fuck. And you're like, every time I say screw, I mean fuck. I'm like, this is my girl, because I feel that as well.
Yes.
Look,
Words
it was
are powerful.
at the end of the day, it was my choice. Like, my editor was like, we would rather you not, but you can choose. And they like laid out everything. And it was really hard. And I don't know whether I made the right decision to take out most of the swearing, especially when the Brits ended up putting fucking on the title. But the Americans were, it stopped fucking around and make something in the UK.
Wow. I want that version.
I know. Oh my gosh.
So I don't know whether I made the right choice there. I really don't know. But I get in a lot of trouble with my swearing, like on the regular, and I get in particular trouble with American audiences. So
we're very
puritanical
puritanical
we're an American
here.
audience that like we say fuck a lot on here, and we like, not in this episode surprisingly, but when we're talking about books, we're
Anyway, the word fuck maybe, but I'm not sure. Maybe I made the right choice. Whatever, I can't regret it. It is what it is, and it's created interesting conversations. I'm very excited to talk about going pro as an artist in my future books. I think this was something that, I wrote a whole chapter on social media as the artist, and it was decided that this is not for this book. It should be for a future book. maybe that's the right call. I have such a heart for those of us who want to do this for in like a professional sense, and so I'm very excited to talk about that. But that's okay. Like that's for another book. But I
We
feel
need
that
that
we need
book,
your
by the way.
thank you. We need your art. I feel I'm she's imperfect, and I love that she's imperfect. She's messy and beautiful and exactly as I want her to be. And I other than the word fuck, I'm happy with how she ended up.
Well, we love her as much as you. She's in our safe
Thank you.
hands.
Oh my
We
God, I
put
love
out
that.
like she's going to be very cared for. Prime
Oh,
spot on the
that
bookshelf.
just makes me so joyful. I love
Talking
thinking that.
about saving things for other books, there was a part at the end where you said, I could write a whole devastating book about the bitter artist. I would read that book because we are all a little bitter sometimes, and I feel like that would be helpful for everybody.
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts about bitterness and creativity because it is
Get on that.
a very easy road for us to go down.
Exactly. Now, is there
Thank you.
anything? This is your pro artist time, Amy. Okay, so I'm giving you the floor for a second. Is there anything you'd like to promote, or where can people find you? I'll also include links in the show notes. But anything that you want to shout out, that advertisement moment for you. Besides the beautiful "We Need Your Art," which you can find at your.
I'm just gonna back that book even more, baby. Like
yes,
this book,
do it.
Like this is all I want to give my attention to at the moment. You know, this book I wrote it for you, for the artist, and I also wrote it for those of you who absolutely do not think you are artists. But I'm gonna fucking sit you down and prove you wrong. I think a big thing that's been interesting with the promotion of this book is the word artist on the front page. I think puts a lot of people off. Oh, I'm not artist. Oh, that's something for other people, not for me. I don't have a creative bone in my body. Shut the fuck up. Like we humans have an instinct to make, and this book is for you, and I'm going to take care of you, and we're going to do profound and amazing things because you are here to make art. We are here to create. You have a purpose on this earth, and it is to make something. And this book is going to gently, kindly mother you and force you to do it.
Exactly. And if you need a copy, show notes. I'll have it in the show notes.
Thank you.
Get your copy.
Yeah, get it wherever you want to get. Well, like you can get it wherever you get your books from, really, other than most bookshops in the US.
Other than physically in the store.
But you can always order it in from indie books, which is very, very beneficial for me because they know about the book. So when you go to your indie bookstore and say, we would love to get We Need Your Art, then that gets on their radar, which is always really useful for me.
Yeah, and we love to support bookshop.org as well. In the US, it's our indie online version.
Yeah, I love
there's
it.
a version in the UK.
Yeah,
for that,
I know.
but
We use bookshop.org all the time.
I love it.
me too.
Definitely. But yeah, I'm so excited. And we can find you on Inspired to Write as well on social media. You have your website, which I'll link, and then you also have your podcast.
Substack, podcast. God, I'm everywhere. It's disgusting.
It's
Unpublished
wonderful.
podcast.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you.
Be proud of that. Look at this.
Thank you.
This is so
Kait.
beautiful. We are so thankful that you took your time to be
you.
on here. This is a bucket list moment for me. And I know CJ as well. So thank you so much. We honor this time and space, and we are so thankful to have you on here.
Kait, CJ, truly an honor. This is my favorite thing to do, to be in the presence of artists and especially writers. It's my bias. And I'm very, very, very grateful.
No,
to you
really?
both.
All right. Well, thank you so much.